Look at this. A black woman driving an SUV this expensive? Search every inch of it. Women like her don't end up behind the wheel of a vehicle like this unless they're hiding something. Officer Tyler Grayson sneered as he slammed his open palm against the hood of Naomi Brooks's dark gray SUV, the deafening bang silencing everyone at the roadside checkpoint. Before Naomi could respond, he snatched her driver's license from her hand, waved it in the air like a joke, then deliberately dropped it into the dirt at her feet. He looked Naomi up and down with open contempt. Tell me, how many fake stories did you have to invent before somebody believed a black woman like you belonged in a vehicle like this? A few officers chuckled. Tyler wasn't finished. You people always cry about respect, he scoffed. Respect is earned, not painted onto your skin. Around here, your black skin doesn't impress me. It just gives me one more reason to check what you're trying to hide. A rookie officer swallowed nervously. Sir, we don't have probable cause. I don't need probable cause when my instincts are this good, Tyler snapped. Now stand back and watch me expose another liar. He strode to the rear passenger door, grabbed the handle, and yanked it open. A polished black military shoe slowly touched the pavement. Every laugh disappeared. Every camera froze. Officer Tyler Grayson suddenly realized the person inside wasn't just another passenger. Before we reveal who stepped out of that SUV and why this single traffic stop would destroy one officer's entire career, tell us where you're watching from and what your local time is. If you believe every person deserves dignity and justice, share your thoughts in the comments. And subscribe so you don't miss the shocking truth waiting in the next chapter. The polished black military shoe paused on the pavement for only a fraction of a second before retreating back inside the SUV. The rear door closed again. Officer Tyler Grayson frowned. What the hell? He muttered. A calm voice came from inside. Close the door, Captain. Naomi Brooks obeyed immediately, gently pulling the door shut without another word. Tyler stared at her. You taking orders now? Naomi simply looked back at him. I've cooperated with every lawful request you've made. He laughed, but not the one that matters. The morning sun reflected off the windshield while traffic slowed in both directions. Nearly 20 people had gathered near the roadside shoulder. Cell phones remained pointed toward Naomi, capturing every second. Tyler walked around the SUV once more like a predator circling wounded prey. What do you do for a living? I don't believe that's relevant. It becomes relevant when someone who looks like you drives something worth more than my yearly salary. Naomi remained silent. Tyler interpreted that silence as guilt. There it is, he smirked. I knew it. He leaned against the driver's door. You're nervous. No. You should be. He lowered his voice. People don't buy vehicles like this on an honest paycheck. Naomi calmly replied, Officer, if you're accusing me of a crime, please state the charge. I'm still deciding. The rookie officer beside him, Emily Carter, quietly checked Naomi's license once again on her patrol tablet. Everything came back clean. No warrants. No criminal history. No unpaid citations. The registration matched perfectly. Insurance was valid. Emily stepped closer. Sir, everything checks out. Tyler barely glanced at the screen. Run it again. I already did. Then run it a third time. Emily hesitated. It's still going to say the same thing. Tyler ignored her. Instead, he crouched beside the SUV and examined the tires as though expecting to discover hidden evidence. You know what I've learned? He called out loudly enough for everyone nearby to hear. The cleanest records usually belong to the smartest criminals. A few spectators nodded. Others exchanged uncomfortable looks. Naomi folded her hands calmly in front of her. She had experienced this before. Not this exact officer, not this exact road, but the same assumptions, the same suspicious stares, the same unspoken belief that she simply did not belong. Her father had prepared her decades earlier. Never confuse another person's prejudice with your own worth. She repeated those words silently every time someone tried to reduce her to the color of her skin. Tyler suddenly pointed toward the rear passenger compartment. So who's back there? I'm not at liberty to discuss my passengers. Oh, now we've got secrets. The people inside deserve their privacy. They'll have privacy after I'm done searching this vehicle. Emily quietly stepped beside Tyler. Sir, he sighed impatiently. What? We still don't have probable cause. I have reasonable suspicion. Based on what? Tyler answered without hesitation. Her behavior. Emily looked confused. She's been calm the entire time. Exactly. Emily blinked. I'm sorry? Normal people get angry when they're stopped. Naomi looked directly at him. So now remaining calm is suspicious? For someone in your situation, Tyler smiled coldly. Yes. The words hung heavily in the air, Even several bystanders lowered their phones for a moment. An elderly veteran standing beside his pickup frowned. "Officer," he called out carefully, "I don't think she's done anything wrong." Tyler spun around. "You conducting this stop?" "No." "Then stay out of it." The veteran slowly stepped back. Naomi noticed the embarrassment on the older man's face. He had wanted to help. Instead, he had become another target. She felt sorry for him. Tyler returned to Naomi. "You know what's funny?" She said nothing. "You haven't asked me why I stopped you. I assumed you'd tell me. I clocked you at 3 miles over." Emily immediately looked up. "Sir." Tyler ignored her again. Naomi spoke evenly. "I wasn't speeding. You calling me a liar? I'm saying my vehicle records every second of my drive." That answer irritated him. "So you've got cameras too?" "Yes. Convenient. They protect everyone." His smile faded. For the first time, Tyler realized this woman wasn't intimidated. She wasn't arguing. She wasn't pleading. She wasn't raising her voice. She was documenting. That unsettled him more than any shouting ever could. He reached toward his shoulder microphone. "Dispatch, send me another unit." Emily stared. "Sir?" "I've got multiple occupants refusing cooperation." Naomi immediately corrected him. "No one has refused a lawful order." Tyler pressed the transmit button anyway. "Possible criminal activity. Additional assistance requested." Emily's heart sank. That wasn't true. She had been standing here the entire time. Naomi had complied with every legal instruction. The only thing she had declined was an unconstitutional search. Within minutes, distant sirens echoed across the highway. 3 additional patrol cars appeared over the hill. Several people in the crowd whispered, "What did she do? Must be something serious." I knew there had to be more to it. Naomi heard every word. None of them knew her. None of them knew where she had come from before sunrise. None of them knew why she had driven nearly 200 miles without stopping. Most importantly, none of them knew why the passenger seated silently behind the tinted glass had not spoken a single word. Inside the SUV, absolute silence continued. The man in the rear seat calmly checked the time on a plain black wristwatch. Across from him sat another quiet passenger, his eyes fixed through the dark window. Neither man attempted to intervene. Neither reached for a phone. Neither appeared nervous. It was almost as if they were waiting for something, or someone. The additional patrol cars rolled to a stop. 4 more officers stepped out. Tyler spread his arms confidently. Perfect timing. He looked directly at Naomi. "Now let's see how long you keep pretending you're innocent." Emily looked toward the SUV once more. For reasons she couldn't explain, she suddenly felt that everyone at this roadside checkpoint, including Officer Tyler Grayson, was standing only moments away from a truth that would change every one of their lives. She just didn't know what that truth was yet. The wail of approaching sirens shattered the uneasy silence. Within moments, 3 additional patrol cruisers rolled into the checkpoint, surrounding Naomi Brooks's SUV from every direction. Blue and red lights reflected across the dark windows, turning the roadside into a spectacle that drew even more curious drivers onto the shoulder. Officer Tyler Grayson stood a little taller. "There," he said with a satisfied grin. "Now let's handle this properly." The newly arrived officers stepped out, immediately reading Tyler's confident posture as a sign that the stop involved a dangerous suspect. One of them rested a hand on his holstered weapon. "What have we got?" Tyler never took his eyes off Naomi. "Possible concealed felony. Multiple occupants. Driver refusing full cooperation." Emily Carter's head snapped toward him. "That's not what happened." Tyler shot her a warning glare. "Emily, either back me up or stay quiet." She clenched her jaw. Every instinct she had developed at the academy told her something was wrong. Naomi had never raised her voice. She had never resisted. She had never made a threatening movement. Everything Tyler was saying painted a picture completely different from the one Emily had witnessed. Meanwhile, the crowd continued growing. A delivery driver whispered to another man, "Looks like they caught somebody big." Another replied, "You don't call 4 patrol cars for a speeding ticket." Naomi heard every word but remained perfectly composed. Her breathing stayed slow, measured, controlled. Tyler walked directly toward her until only a few feet separated them. "You've made this a lot harder than it needed to be. I've exercised my constitutional rights. You've hidden behind them." "No, I think you have." He pointed toward the SUV. "I'll ask one last time. Who is in that vehicle?" Naomi answered exactly as before. "I cannot discuss the identity of my passengers." Tyler laughed loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Listen to that." He turned toward the crowd. "She talks like she's transporting the president." Several people chuckled nervously. Tyler leaned closer. "You really expect anyone to believe someone important would trust a black woman driving around in blue jeans and a faded jacket?" Emily looked away. The words made her stomach tighten. Naomi did not react. Instead, she calmly said, "My clothing has nothing to do with the Constitution." That answer irritated Tyler even more. "You know what?" He removed his sunglasses. "I think you've rehearsed all these lines." "No, you people always do." Emily finally spoke. "Sir, that's enough." Tyler rounded on her. "What did you say?" "I said that's enough. You questioning my judgment?" "I'm questioning whether we're following policy." The surrounding officers exchanged uncertain glances. One quietly asked Emily, "Has she threatened anyone?" "No." "Any contraband visible?" "No." "Any smell of narcotics?" "No." "Weapon?" "No." The officer frowned. "So what's probable cause?" Before Emily could answer, Tyler interrupted. "My probable cause is my experience." No one replied. Tyler interpreted the silence as agreement. He turned back toward Naomi. "I'm done asking politely." He reached toward the rear door again. Naomi stepped sideways, not aggressively, simply placing herself between Tyler and the passenger compartment. It was the first physical movement she had made since the stop began. Tyler immediately pointed at her. "There it is." His voice grew louder. "Obstruction. I am not obstructing you. You just blocked me. I asked you not to conduct an unlawful search. You don't get to tell me how to do my job." His voice echoed across the highway. Naomi remained calm. "My responsibility is to protect the people in that vehicle." Tyler smirked. "So you admit you're hiding someone?" "I said I'm protecting them." "Oh, we're finally getting somewhere." Emily immediately stepped between them. "Sir, listen to what she's actually saying." Tyler glared. "You move." "No." For the first time all morning, Tyler looked genuinely surprised. Emily had never openly challenged him before. She lowered her voice. "If we search that vehicle without legal justification, everything after this becomes our responsibility." Tyler folded his arms. "I'll take responsibility." Emily answered quietly, "I don't think you understand how much responsibility that could be." Those words lingered in the air. Tyler dismissed them with a wave. Across the road, another bystander lifted his phone higher. The live stream already had thousands of viewers. Comments flooded the screen. "She hasn't done anything. That officer is abusing his power. Keep recording. Don't let them erase this." Tyler noticed the phones. His pride took over. He wanted to prove to everyone that he was right. He pointed toward two officers. "Search the cargo area." Naomi immediately spoke. "I do not consent." Tyler smiled. "I wasn't asking." Before either officer could move, Emily stepped directly into their path. "Don't." Both officers stopped. "What?" "You'd better let him think this through." Tyler's face flushed. "Emily." She looked straight at him. "If you're certain you have probable cause, write it down." He frowned. "What?" "State it." "I already did." "No." She held up her notebook. "Specific facts." "What exactly created probable cause?" Tyler hesitated. For the first time that morning, he didn't answer immediately. Instead, he looked toward Naomi, then toward the SUV, then back toward the gathering crowd. Finally, he said, "My instincts." Emily slowly lowered her notebook. Her disappointment showed. "That's not enough." Tyler ignored her. He marched toward the rear passenger door himself. "If none of you are willing to do it," he grabbed the handle. "I'll do it." Every conversation stopped. Even the traffic seemed quieter. Naomi looked toward the dark window for only a brief second. Not with fear, with expectation. Inside the SUV, one passenger adjusted his plain navy tie. Another calmly closed a leather folder embossed with a small gold eagle. Neither man spoke. Neither appeared alarmed, almost as if they had expected this exact moment from the very beginning. Tyler planted one boot firmly against the pavement. His fingers tightened around the door handle. This game is over. Just as he started pulling the handle, a sharp electronic tone suddenly echoed through the quiet cabin. Beep. 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 Naomi's wrist vibrated. She glanced discreetly at the encrypted military communication device hidden beneath the sleeve of her jacket. A single line of text illuminated the screen. "Security Convoy Ada, 90 seconds. Hold position." Naomi looked back up. Her expression never changed. But for the first time since the stop began, she knew help was almost there. Tyler, blinded by arrogance, had no idea that the next 90 seconds would end everything he believed he controlled. The encrypted alert disappeared from Captain Naomi Brooks's wrist display as quickly as it had appeared. "Security Convoy Ada, 90 seconds. Hold position." She lowered her arm without drawing attention. 90 seconds. She only had to prevent Officer Tyler Grayson from opening that rear passenger door for another 90 seconds. Tyler tightened his grip on the handle. "You've wasted enough of my morning." Naomi took one measured step forward. "Officer Grayson." He looked up impatiently. "What now?" I am asking you one final time. She spoke slowly, every word deliberate. Please stop. You do not understand the consequences of what you're about to do. Tyler burst into laughter. The consequences? He turned toward the gathering crowd. Did everybody hear that? Several people chuckled uncertainly. The lady thinks I'm supposed to be scared. His smile widened. No, Captain. He deliberately emphasized the title after noticing it on her driver's record. You should be the one who's scared. Without warning, he shoved Naomi backward with one hand. She stumbled half a step but kept her balance. Gasps rippled through the spectators. Emily Carter immediately stepped forward. Sir. Tyler didn't even look at her. She interfered with an active investigation. I asked him not to violate the law, Naomi answered calmly. You blocked a police officer. I protected my passengers. Tyler pointed directly at her face. There you go again. He looked around dramatically. Did everyone hear that? She's protecting criminals. Whispers spread through the crowd. I knew somebody important was hiding. Maybe it's drugs. Could be fugitives. Naomi closed her eyes for the briefest moment. Not because she was afraid, because she knew exactly how quickly assumptions became accepted as truth. Emily stood beside her. Captain, are you all right? Naomi nodded once. Yes. Tyler frowned. So now we're on a first-name basis? Emily answered without hesitation. I read her license. You don't sympathize with suspects. I sympathize with the Constitution. That answer hit Tyler like an insult. His face hardened. You've been on this department for 6 months. And? I've been wearing this badge for 17 years. Emily held his gaze. That doesn't make illegal decisions legal. The surrounding officers exchanged uneasy looks. No one wanted to choose sides, yet everyone could feel the atmosphere changing. Tyler realized he was losing control. He grabbed his shoulder microphone. Dispatch. His voice became sharp. Have county send a supervisor. Emily looked surprised. You want Lieutenant Harris? I want someone who isn't afraid to make decisions. Dispatch answered. Supervisor unavailable. Estimated arrival 25 minutes. Tyler cursed under his breath. 25 minutes. He refused to wait that long. No problem, he muttered. I'll finish this before then. He turned back toward Naomi. I'm ordering everyone out of the vehicle. The occupants will remain inside. You don't give orders here. I wasn't giving an order. She looked directly into his eyes. I was informing you. That calm confidence only fueled his anger. He took another step. Last warning. Naomi remained exactly where she stood. I cannot allow unauthorized access. Tyler's voice exploded across the highway. You cannot allow? He laughed bitterly. You hear that? He gestured toward the officers surrounding him. A black woman in blue jeans thinks she outranks every badge standing here. Several officers lowered their eyes. No one laughed this time. Emily noticed something else. Far down the highway, tiny flashing lights appeared over the distant hill. Not police lights. White. Steady. Organized. She narrowed her eyes. What is that? One officer looked in the same direction. I don't know. Tyler ignored them. His attention remained fixed on Naomi. He suddenly reached for his handcuffs. Metal clicked loudly. If you continue obstructing this investigation, he lifted the cuffs where everyone could see them. I'll place you under arrest. The crowd erupted into murmurs. A mother covered her son's eyes. The elderly veteran clenched his fists. Emily stepped directly between Tyler and Naomi. You don't have probable cause for an arrest. I have obstruction. You created the obstruction. Tyler glared. Move. No. Move. I won't. For several long seconds, neither officer moved. Only the wind crossed the empty highway. Inside the SUV, silence remained absolute. Then, a low electronic buzz came through the encrypted communication device hidden beneath Naomi's sleeve. She didn't look down. She already knew what it meant. The convoy was almost there. Emily's attention drifted once more toward the distant highway. This time, she could clearly distinguish the vehicles. 3 matte black SUVs, 2 military police cruisers, and behind them, a long black government limousine. Her heartbeat quickened. Sir. Tyler ignored her. Sir. Still nothing. She raised her voice. Officer Grayson. What? Emily pointed toward the approaching vehicles. I think we should stop. Tyler glanced briefly over his shoulder, then shrugged. So? Those aren't local vehicles. So? They're military. Tyler scoffed. Probably passing through. Emily didn't answer. Something about the disciplined spacing, the synchronized speed, the unmistakable precision. None of it looked ordinary. Naomi noticed the convoy cresting the hill. Less than half a mile away, Tyler saw her glance down the road and smirk. Looking for someone to save you? Naomi answered quietly. No. She held his gaze. I'm hoping it's not too late to save you. Tyler laughed harder than ever. He spun around, grabbed the rear passenger door with both hands, and planted his boots firmly against the pavement. Enough games. Behind him, the convoy accelerated toward the checkpoint. No sirens, no horns, just quiet, disciplined purpose. No one at the scene realized that within seconds, the ordinary roadside stop would become a federal incident witnessed by dozens of civilians, and Officer Tyler Grayson's career was about to unravel before his very eyes. The convoy closed the distance with silent precision. 3 matte black SUVs moved in perfect formation, followed by 2 military police vehicles and a long government limousine. There were no flashing emergency lights, no blaring sirens, only disciplined purpose. Officer Tyler Grayson barely spared them another glance. They can wait, he muttered. His fingers tightened around the rear passenger door handle. Captain Naomi Brooks remained perfectly still. Officer Grayson, he sighed dramatically. What now? This is your last opportunity to step away. He chuckled. You've been saying that for the last 20 minutes. I'm saying it because I don't want this situation to become worse. It already became worse the second you refused to cooperate. Naomi slowly shook her head. No. Her voice remained calm. It became worse the moment you stopped seeing me as a citizen and started seeing only the color of my skin. For the first time all morning, Tyler had no immediate comeback. Instead, he forced a laugh. There you go again. He pointed toward the crowd. She's trying to make this about race because she's got nothing else. An elderly woman standing beside a gas pump frowned. No, officer, she called out. You brought up her race. The entire roadside fell silent. Tyler turned slowly. What? You were the one who kept saying, black woman. Several people exchanged uneasy glances. One young man lowered his phone. I heard it too. So did I, another voice added. Emily Carter watched Tyler's expression change. The confidence was still there, but now, there was irritation beneath it. He wasn't losing control of Naomi. He was losing control of the crowd. He quickly pointed toward the spectators. Everybody stay back. No one moved. Instead, more phones appeared. One live stream had already reached tens of thousands of viewers. Comments flooded the screen. The officer keeps talking about race. She's calm. He's escalating. Keep recording everything. Tyler noticed the cameras. His pride wouldn't allow him to back down. If everyone wants a show, he smiled coldly. I'll finish the show. He reached toward the rear door once again. Emily stepped into his path. Sir, move. You need to stop. I said move. She didn't. Tyler lowered his voice. Don't throw away your career over someone you don't even know. Emily answered quietly. That's exactly why I'm standing here. He frowned. What? I don't know her. She looked at Naomi. But I know what due process looks like. Those words struck several officers standing nearby. One of them, Sergeant Daniel Ortiz, finally spoke. Tyler, what? We've been here almost half an hour. So? If there was probable cause, we'd have found it by now. Tyler snapped. You taking her side too? I'm taking the department's side. Tyler looked around. No one answered. No one supported him. His jaw tightened. Fine. If nobody else would act, he would. He pushed past Emily. Hard enough that she stumbled backward. Emily! Sergeant Ortiz caught her before she hit the patrol car. You all right? I'm fine. Naomi's eyes narrowed for the first time. Not with anger, with concern. Emily had done nothing wrong, yet she had become another target. Naomi quietly spoke. Officer Carter. Emily looked up. Thank you. Those 2 words surprised everyone. Emily gave a small nod. You don't have to thank me. I do. Tyler interrupted. Touching. He clapped sarcastically. Maybe after I arrest you, the 2 of you can write each other letters. A few uncomfortable laughs escaped from one of the newest deputies. Nobody else joined in. The atmosphere had changed. Even Tyler could feel it. Far down the highway, the convoy slowed. The lead SUV activated discreet amber hazard lights. Military police vehicles spread slightly apart. Their movements were precise. Intencional. Sergeant Ortiz noticed immediately. Those aren't random military vehicles. Emily quietly agreed. No. They're moving in protective formation. Tyler dismissed them with a wave. So what? Ortiz stared at him. You've never seen an executive protection convoy? No. I have. His voice became noticeably quieter. And that's exactly what this looks like. Tyler laughed. Executive protection? He pointed toward Naomi. For here? No. Ortiz kept watching the approaching vehicles. For somebody, that single word lingered. Tyler refused to consider it. Instead, he turned back toward Naomi. I'm done wasting time. He reached for his handcuffs again. You are being detained, pending investigation. Naomi calmly extended both hands in front of her. The movement confused everyone. You'll notice, she said softly, that I am not resisting. Tyler smiled triumphantly. I knew we'd get here. But before you place those cuffs on me, she looked directly into his eyes. Remember that every decision you make from this moment forward belongs entirely to you. Tyler rolled his eyes. I'll sleep just fine. I hope that's true. The convoy entered the checkpoint. Every vehicle stopped simultaneously. Doors remained closed. No one exited. The silence became almost unbearable. Even the wind seemed to disappear. Then, every officer's portable radio crackled at exactly the same moment. Dispatch's voice sounded unusually tense. Attention all units at Highway 47 checkpoint. Static interrupted the transmission. Stand by for priority federal traffic. Every officer instinctively reached for their radio. Tyler pressed the transmit button. This is Officer Grayson. Before he could continue, dispatch cut him off. All local personnel are instructed to maintain current positions and await further identification. Tyler frowned. What identification? No answer came. Only silence. Inside the lead black SUV, the driver's door slowly opened. A tall man wearing a dark business suit stepped onto the pavement. He wasn't dressed like a soldier. He wasn't wearing a badge, but every military police officer in the convoy immediately stood at attention. The suited man calmly surveyed the checkpoint before turning his eyes toward Naomi. He gave the smallest, almost imperceptible nod. Naomi returned the nod just once. Emily saw the exchange. A chill ran down her spine. She suddenly understood one terrifying truth. Captain Naomi Brooks had never been waiting for rescue. She had been waiting for authorization, and whatever was about to happen next would no longer be under Officer Tyler Grayson's control. The man in the dark business suit walked with deliberate, unhurried steps. Every military police officer remained perfectly still, their posture rigid, their eyes fixed straight ahead. No one saluted. No one spoke. Officer Tyler Grayson frowned. What is this? The suited man stopped several yards away. His expression revealed nothing. Who is in charge here? Tyler answered immediately. I am. The man looked him over for a long second before producing a slim, black credential wallet. He opened it just enough for Tyler to see an official federal seal. My name is Michael Reeves. Nothing more. No agency. No title. Just a name. Tyler barely glanced at the credentials. Federal. Yes. FB? I'm not here to discuss my assignment. Tyler folded his arms. This is a local police investigation. Michael's face remained calm. Is it? It is now. Michael slowly turned toward Naomi. Captain Brooks. Sir. Status? Naomi answered with military precision. The principal remains secure. Tyler frowned. The principal? Naomi offered nothing further. Michael nodded once. Any compromise? No, sir. Any injuries? No, sir. Any unauthorized contact? Naomi paused. One attempted unlawful entry into the protected vehicle. Michael looked back at Tyler. You attempted to open the rear passenger compartment? Tyler shrugged. I was conducting a search. Did you have consent? No. A warrant? No. Probable cause? Tyler hesitated. I didn't need one. Michael's expression never changed. I see. Emily Carter watched the exchange carefully. Whoever this man was, he wasn't intimidated by Tyler in the slightest. More importantly, Naomi addressed him with the same quiet respect she would give a commanding officer. Behind Michael, the convoy remained motionless. Its occupants stayed inside. Dark-tinted windows revealed nothing. Tyler took one step forward. I don't know who you are, but this stop isn't over. Michael calmly reached into his jacket again. This time he removed a folded document. Not a warrant. Not an identification card. An official federal directive. He handed it to Tyler. Tyler scanned the first few lines. His brow tightened. What is this? A temporary federal movement authorization. Tyler looked unimpressed. So, it authorizes this convoy to travel without unnecessary delay. I decide what's necessary. Michael gently took the document back. No. He folded it neatly. You don't. Tyler laughed. You federal people always think your paperwork scares everybody. Michael ignored the comment. Instead, he looked toward Emily. Officer. Yes, sir. Were you present during the entire stop? I was. Did Captain Brooks threaten anyone? No. Did she resist? No. Did she refuse lawful commands? Emily took a slow breath. No. Tyler interrupted. She's leaving out important details. Michael turned toward him. I'm listening. Tyler pointed toward Naomi. She refused a search. Michael nodded. That is her constitutional right. Tyler's jaw tightened. She blocked my investigation. No. Michael's voice remained perfectly level. She asserted her legal protections. The surrounding officers exchanged uneasy glances. Sergeant Daniel Ortiz quietly cleared his throat. Sir. Michael looked at him. Go ahead. I've worked joint security events before. Michael waited. This convoy. He glanced toward the limousine. Isn't transporting ordinary personnel. Michael didn't answer. Silence itself became the answer. Ortiz slowly stepped back. His pulse quickened. He suddenly realized just how serious this situation might be. Meanwhile, Tyler refused to surrender control. I don't care who's inside. Michael looked directly into his eyes. You should. I've dealt with senators. You haven't dealt with this. I've dealt with generals, too. Michael remained silent. Tyler mistook that silence for victory. He smiled. See? I'm not impressed by rank. Naomi spoke for the first time in nearly a minute. This isn't about rank. Tyler looked at her. No? It's about responsibility. He scoffed. Same thing. No. Her voice stayed steady. Rank gives authority. She paused. Responsibility determines how that authority is used. Even Emily felt those words settle over the checkpoint. Tyler only rolled his eyes. I'm done listening to speeches. He stepped around Michael and headed toward the SUV once more. Michael didn't stop him, neither did Naomi. That surprised everyone. Tyler smirked. I thought so. He placed his hand on the rear passenger door again. This time, no one moved. No one shouted. No one warned him. The silence was almost unsettling. Then a sharp electronic tone echoed from the lead military police vehicle. Immediately afterward, every military driver stepped out at the exact same instant. The movement was flawless. Disciplined. Almost choreographed. They formed two perfectly straight lines facing the government limousine. Not one of them looked toward Tyler. Not one of them acknowledged the local officers. Emily's heartbeat accelerated. She whispered to Sergeant Ortiz. They're preparing for someone's arrival. Ortiz nodded slowly. And whoever it is, his eyes remained fixed on the limousine. Outranks everyone standing here. Tyler heard neither of them. He was too focused on proving himself right. His fingers wrapped tightly around the rear passenger handle. Behind him, Michael Reeves quietly checked his watch. Then he spoke into a concealed microphone clipped beneath his collar. The scene is secure. A calm voice answered through his earpiece. Proceed. Michael looked toward Naomi. She gave the slightest nod. Tyler pulled on the handle. The latch clicked. The rear door unlocked. At that exact moment, every military police officer snapped into a formal position of attention. The checkpoint fell into absolute silence. Something extraordinary was about to step out, and Officer Tyler Grayson still believed he was the one in control. The latch released with a soft metallic click. Officer Tyler Grayson pulled the rear passenger door open halfway. Every civilian watching instinctively leaned forward. Every local officer held their breath. Inside the SUV, a sharply dressed older gentleman in a Navy business suit sat calmly with a leather portfolio resting on his lap. His silver hair was neatly combed, and a pair of reading glasses rested low on his nose, as though the chaos outside were little more than an inconvenience. Tyler frowned. That's it? The man slowly looked up. His eyes met Tyler's without the slightest hint of fear. Can I help you, officer? Tyler smirked. So, you're the mystery passenger. The gentleman simply waited. Step out. I'm comfortable where I am. Tyler's smile disappeared. That wasn't a request. The older man calmly closed the portfolio. Captain Brooks. Yes, sir. Has the situation been resolved? Not yet, sir. Tyler pointed into the vehicle. I said get out. Naomi took one measured step forward. Officer Grayson. He ignored her. The gentleman slowly adjusted his tie before speaking again. Officer, may I ask why I'm being ordered out of this vehicle? Because I'm conducting a criminal investigation. What crime? I'm still determining that. The gentleman nodded thoughtfully. So, you have no specific offense. Tyler's patience snapped. I don't answer questions. No, the man replied quietly. You answer to the Constitution. Several officers shifted uneasily. Emily Carter noticed something else. The leather portfolio on the man's lap carried a small gold emblem. An eagle. Beneath it were 3 tiny words stamped into the leather. Department of Defense. Her pulse quickened. She discreetly nudged Sergeant Daniel Ortiz. Look. Ortiz followed her gaze. The moment he saw the emblem, his expression changed. He whispered almost inaudibly, Oh, no. Tyler remained oblivious. He pointed toward the older man. Step out now. Instead of moving, the gentleman looked toward Naomi. Captain. Sir, have you complied with every lawful instruction? Yes, sir. Have you identified yourself truthfully? Yes, sir. Were you threatened? Naomi hesitated. I was insulted repeatedly because of my race. Silence spread across the checkpoint. The gentleman slowly turned back toward Tyler. Is that true? Tyler laughed dismissively. Oh, here we go. He folded his arms. Everything becomes racism when people get caught. Emily finally spoke. Sir. Tyler raised a hand. Not another word. She ignored him. He did make repeated comments about her being black. Tyler spun around. You are finished. No. Emily's voice was stronger now. I'm done pretending this is normal. Tyler stared at her in disbelief. You'd testify against your own partner? I'd testify for the truth. The crowd erupted into whispers. Several live stream viewers clipped the exchange immediately. Comments flooded across the screen. That rookie has courage. Protect her. He's falling apart. Tyler could almost feel control slipping through his fingers. He turned back toward the older gentleman. I don't care who you work for. The gentleman smiled faintly. I believe you. But you're getting out. Without warning, Tyler reached into the SUV and grabbed the man's forearm. Gasps echoed from every direction. Naomi reacted instantly. She caught Tyler's wrist firmly, not aggressively, but decisively. Release him. Tyler jerked his arm. You just assaulted an officer. I prevented unauthorized physical contact with my protected passenger. Oh, now he's protected? Yes. Tyler laughed. Protected by who? Naomi answered without hesitation. By me. Tyler looked around theatrically. 130 pounds of attitude. Naomi never blinked. I took an oath, and I wear the badge. She nodded. Exactly. Tyler frowned. What does that mean? It means we both swore to protect people. She looked directly into his eyes. The difference is, she paused. I still remember why. The words landed harder than anyone expected. Even Tyler hesitated. Only for a second, then his pride returned. That's enough. He pulled his handcuffs free once more. Captain Naomi Brooks, you're under arrest for interfering with a police investigation. Emily stepped forward immediately. You can't. I can. Sergeant Ortiz tried one final time. Tyler, think. I've thought enough. He stepped toward Naomi with the cuffs raised. Naomi calmly placed her hands behind her back. She neither resisted nor argued. The older gentleman watched quietly from inside the SUV. Michael Reeves glanced at his watch. 30 seconds. Only 30 seconds remained. Far behind the convoy, another sound drifted through the morning air. Not sirens, not engines. The rhythmic chop of helicopter blades. Heads slowly turned upward. A large military helicopter appeared over the tree line, flying low toward the checkpoint. Its dark green fuselage glistened beneath the morning sun. The aircraft made one slow pass overhead before beginning a controlled descent toward a nearby open field. The crowd collectively gasped. Emily looked toward Sergeant Ortiz. I don't think that's here by coincidence. Ortiz swallowed hard. It isn't. Military police officers immediately pivoted toward the landing zone. Each movement was crisp, each step perfectly synchronized. Tyler glanced briefly at the helicopter before dismissing it with a shrug. Military exercise. Michael Reeves quietly smiled for the first time that morning. No, officer. His voice remained calm. It isn't. The helicopter's landing skids touched the ground. Its rotors continued spinning. Two uniformed officers stepped out first. Then they turned sharply toward the cabin door. They assumed rigid positions of attention. Every military police officer at the checkpoint mirrored the movement simultaneously. The older gentleman inside the SUV closed his portfolio. Naomi slowly lowered her eyes in silent readiness. Officer Tyler Grayson still held the handcuffs in one hand. He had absolutely no idea that the next person to appear would erase every ounce of authority he believed he possessed. The helicopter's rotors thundered across the open field. Dust and loose gravel swirled through the air, forcing several spectators to shield their faces. Cell phones remained raised despite the wind. Every person sensed that whatever happened next would become the defining moment of the morning. Officer Tyler Grayson still gripped the handcuffs. Captain Naomi Brooks remained motionless. The older gentleman inside the SUV quietly opened his rear door and stepped onto the pavement without waiting for another command. His polished shoes touched the asphalt. Immediately, Michael Reeves straightened. Every military police officer snapped into an even sharper position of attention. The local officers exchanged confused glances. Tyler frowned. What is this? No one answered him. Two soldiers emerged from the helicopter first, taking positions several feet apart. Then a third officer descended. He wore an immaculate Army service uniform. 4 silver stars gleamed from each shoulder beneath the morning sunlight. The crowd fell completely silent. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." Emily Carter's breath caught in her throat. Sergeant Daniel Ortiz instinctively stood straighter. He knew exactly what those stars meant. A 4-star general. The words barely escaped his lips. The general walked calmly across the pavement with measured confidence, neither hurried nor theatrical. Every military police officer rendered a crisp salute the moment he passed. Without hesitation, Captain Naomi Brooks came to attention. Her salute was flawless. The general returned it. "At ease, Captain." "Yes, General." Only then did Tyler realize what he was seeing. His eyes moved slowly from the general to Naomi, to the older gentleman, and finally to the convoy surrounding them. The general stopped directly in front of Naomi. "Captain Brooks." "Sir." "Status report." Naomi spoke with unwavering precision. "Mission timeline delayed 36 minutes due to an unauthorized traffic stop. Principal remained secure throughout the incident. No compromise of classified material. No injuries to protected personnel." The general nodded once. "Excellent work." Then he turned. His eyes settled on Officer Tyler Grayson. "You are the officer who detained my security commander?" Tyler swallowed. "I, General. I was conducting an investigation." "What crime?" Tyler opened his mouth. Nothing came out. The general waited. "What crime, officer?" "I believed." "No." The general's voice remained calm, but every syllable carried unmistakable authority. "I asked what crime." Tyler searched desperately for an answer. "I had reasonable suspicion." "Of what?" Again. "Nothing." Emily quietly lowered her head. She had never seen Tyler speechless. The general looked toward Michael Reeves. "Mr. Reeves." "Sir." "Were all interactions documented?" "Every second." Michael held up a secure digital tablet. "Body cameras." He pointed toward the spectators. "Dash cameras." Then toward the crowd. More than 60 civilian recordings. Tyler's face lost its color. Michael continued. "And the live streams have already been archived." The general gave a slight nod. "Good." He turned to Sergeant Ortiz. "Sergeant." Ortiz instinctively stood at attention. "Sir." "Did Captain Brooks threaten any officer?" "No, sir." "Did she resist?" "No, sir." "Did she obstruct?" Ortiz hesitated only briefly. "No, sir." The general shifted his attention to Emily. "Officer." Emily swallowed. "Sir." "Were racial remarks made during this stop?" She looked briefly toward Tyler, then back to the general. "Yes, sir." "Were they repeated?" "Yes, sir." "Were they necessary for law enforcement?" "No, sir." The general remained silent for several seconds. The weight of that silence seemed heavier than shouting. Finally, he spoke. "Officer Grayson." Tyler stood frozen. "You didn't stop a suspicious driver today." He paused. "You stopped an active military protection detail operating under federal authority." Every word struck like a hammer. The crowd gasped. Phones zoomed in. Several local officers slowly stepped away from Tyler. The general continued. "The woman you repeatedly insulted," he looked proudly toward Naomi, "is one of the most respected executive protection officers assigned to my command." Tyler's breathing became shallow. I didn't know." The general interrupted him. "No. You judged. Silence. You assumed." Another silence. And because of those assumptions, the general gestured toward the convoy. "You delayed a classified inspection involving national defense." Tyler's knees felt weak. "This wasn't supposed to happen." "No." The general nodded. "It wasn't." He looked toward Michael Reeves. "Has the Department of Justice liaison been notified?" "Yes, sir." "The Department of Defense Inspector General?" "They're already en route." "The Civil Rights Division?" "Also notified." Tyler's eyes widened. The general wasn't finished. "Captain Brooks." "Sir." "You demonstrated remarkable restraint." "Thank you, sir." "You protected every person under your responsibility." "I simply fulfilled my oath." A faint smile crossed the general's face. "And you honored the uniform without ever needing to wear it." Naomi lowered her eyes respectfully. "Yes, General." Behind the crowd, another line of black government vehicles entered the checkpoint. This time, nobody mistook them for ordinary traffic. Dark-suited federal agents stepped out one by one. Several wore small Department of Justice identification badges. Others carried evidence cases. Michael Reeves quietly looked at Tyler. "They're here," Tyler whispered. "For me?" Michael answered with complete honesty. "They're here for the truth." The general looked once more across the stunned crowd. Then his gaze settled on the handcuffs still hanging from Tyler's trembling hand. "Officer," his voice was calm. But from this moment forward, he glanced toward the approaching federal investigators. "This is no longer your scene." No one spoke. Officer Tyler Grayson stood frozen in the middle of the checkpoint. the handcuffs hanging loosely from his trembling finger. The same officers who had surrounded Captain Naomi Brooks only minutes earlier now instinctively stepped several feet away from him. The balance of authority had shifted completely. The convoy no longer looked mysterious. It looked untouchable. 3 black SUVs rolled aside with military precision, creating a clear path for 2 Department of Justice vehicles. Their doors opened almost simultaneously. 4 federal investigators stepped onto the pavement. None of them rushed. None of them raised their voices. They carried themselves with the quiet confidence of people who knew the evidence had already spoken. Michael Reeves greeted the lead investigator with a brief handshake. "Everything has been preserved." The investigator nodded. "Excellent." He turned toward Tyler. "Officer Grayson." Tyler forced himself to answer. "Yes. We are assuming investigative authority over this incident." Tyler looked toward his fellow officers. No one came to his defense. He swallowed. I was only doing my job." The investigator calmly replied, "That statement will be included in your interview." Emily Carter watched silently as another federal agent approached Naomi. "Captain Brooks." "Yes. Are all recordings intact?" Naomi removed a small encrypted body camera from beneath her jacket. "They've been recording continuously since the initial stop." The agent accepted the device carefully. "Excellent." Michael Reeves handed over another tablet. "This contains synchronized footage from the convoy." A third investigator added, "We've already secured copies of the live streams before they could be altered." Tyler's shoulders sank. Every possible angle, every word, every insult, every decision, everything had been preserved. The lead investigator looked toward Sergeant Daniel Ortiz. "Sergeant." "Sir, were you present when Officer Grayson referenced Captain Brooks's race?" "Yes." "More than once?" "Yes." "Did you attempt to intervene?" "I advised him to stop." Emily spoke quietly. "I did too." The investigator wrote several notes. Then he looked directly at Tyler. "Did anyone advise you that you lacked probable cause?" Tyler hesitated. Emily answered first. "Multiple times." Ortiz nodded. "I warned him." Another officer slowly raised his hand. "So did I." Onebiwan. The officers who had remained silent earlier now stepped forward. "I questioned the search. I questioned the detention. I never agreed with the arrest." Tyler looked around in disbelief. "Seriously?" No one answered him. The investigator closed his notebook. "Officer Grayson, you are no longer being questioned as the reporting officer." Tyler felt his chest tighten. "You are now the subject of this investigation." Those words echoed through the stunned crowd. The live stream comments exploded. "Justice." The truth finally came out. That rookie officer saved this case. Never judge people by their appearance. Nearby, the older gentleman who had remained inside the SUV for most of the encounter quietly approached the general. The general greeted him with a respectful handshake. Several local officers noticed. One whispered, "Who is he?" Michael Reeves answered calmly enough for those nearby to hear. "Deputy Undersecretary Charles Whitman." The officers stared. A senior Department of Defense official. Tyler closed his eyes. Every terrible decision he had made suddenly became even heavier. He hadn't delayed an ordinary traveler. He had delayed a classified federal inspection involving one of the Department of Defense's highest civilian leaders and a 4-star general. General Harrison Cole looked toward Naomi. "Captain, Sir, you maintained discipline despite repeated provocation." "I followed my training." "You did more than that." The general's voice softened. "You protected the dignity of this uniform even while wearing civilian clothes." Naomi answered quietly. "My father taught me that character is revealed most clearly when nobody knows who you are." The general nodded slowly. "A lesson every public servant should remember." He then turned toward Emily Carter. "Officer." Emily immediately stood straighter. "Sir, I reviewed enough of today's events to know you repeatedly attempted to uphold both the law and your oath." Emily looked surprised. "I only did what was right." "Exactly," the general smiled. "Never underestimate how rare that has become." Meanwhile, another federal investigator approached Tyler carrying a sealed evidence bag. Inside lay Tyler's own body camera. "We'll be taking custody of this." Tyler instinctively reached toward it. "You can't just—" The investigator calmly interrupted. "We already have legal authority." Tyler slowly lowered his hand. For the first time in 17 years wearing a badge, he realized he no longer controlled anything. Not the evidence, not the investigation, not even the narrative. Michael Reeves turned toward the crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen," everyone looked at him. "If any of you recorded today's events, federal investigators will gladly accept copies. Your cooperation helps ensure the complete truth is preserved." Almost immediately, dozens of people stepped forward. "I recorded from the beginning." "So did I. I live-streamed everything." Emily watched in amazement. Earlier that morning, Tyler had believed the crowd would validate him. Instead, the same crowd had become the strongest witnesses against him. The lead investigator approached General Cole. Sir, yes, the preliminary evidence indicates repeated violations of constitutional procedure, possible abuse of authority, interference with a protected federal mission, and discrimination. The general's expression remained composed. Proceed accordingly. Yes, sir. The investigator turned toward Tyler one final time. Officer Grayson. Tyler barely looked up. Effective immediately, your law enforcement authority is suspended pending the outcome of this investigation. One of the local supervisors, who had finally arrived after the convoy, quietly stepped forward. Without saying a word, he reached for Tyler's shoulder, then slowly removed the department badge from his uniform. The metallic click echoed across the silent checkpoint. No speech could have carried greater weight. Tyler stared at the empty place on his chest where his badge had rested for nearly 2 decades. In a single morning, the authority he had abused, the respect he had demanded, and the career he believed was untouchable, had begun to disappear before the eyes of everyone he had tried so desperately to impress. The silence that followed the removal of Tyler Grayson's badge felt heavier than any sentence a judge could pronounce. He stared at the empty space on his uniform. For 17 years, that badge had represented authority. Today, it represented every decision that had brought him here. The lead Department of Justice investigator stepped forward. Officer Tyler Grayson. Tyler slowly looked up. You are directed to surrender your department-issued firearm, credentials, radio, and patrol vehicle pending a full federal investigation. Without a word, Tyler unclipped his sidearm. The sound of the holster releasing echoed across the checkpoint. He placed the weapon into the investigator's hands. Next came his radio, then his credentials. Finally, the keys to his patrol car. Each item felt like another piece of the career he had spent nearly 2 decades building. Across the road, dozens of civilians continued recording, but the mood had changed completely. Earlier, many had assumed Naomi Brooks was the criminal. Now they understood who had truly abused authority. An elderly veteran slowly approached Naomi. I'm sorry. She looked at him kindly. For what? I doubted you. Naomi smiled gently. No. She shook her head. You believed what you were shown. He lowered his eyes. I should have believed what I saw. Naomi placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. You stood up when it mattered. The older man's eyes filled with emotion. Not soon enough. It was enough. Nearby, General Harrison Cole watched the exchange with quiet pride. He turned toward the assembled local officers. There is something every badge and every uniform have in common. No one spoke. They do not create honor. He paused. They reveal it. His eyes swept across the checkpoint. A badge cannot hide prejudice. A uniform cannot manufacture integrity. And authority without character eventually destroys itself. Every officer listened in complete silence. General Cole then looked toward Emily Carter. Officer Carter, Sir, step forward. Emily did. You reminded everyone here that courage isn't measured by rank. He smiled. It is measured by the willingness to do what is right when standing alone. Emily swallowed hard. Thank you, General. I'll be recommending your actions for formal commendation. She blinked in surprise. I don't know what to say. Just continue serving the Constitution. I will, sir. Sergeant Daniel Ortiz quietly nodded. So will I. Several other officers echoed the same promise. The police chief arrived moments later, having driven nearly 40 miles after learning that a federal protection mission had been interrupted. He walked directly to General Cole. General. The two men shook hands. I owe Captain Brooks and your entire team a sincere apology. General Cole nodded toward Naomi. You owe it to her. The chief faced Naomi. Captain Brooks. His voice carried genuine regret. On behalf of this department, I apologize for the way you were treated. Naomi answered with quiet grace. I accept your apology. But acceptance isn't the same as forgetting. The chief nodded. I understand. We'll conduct a complete review of our policies. You should. She looked toward the officers standing nearby. Bias grows quietly. It only survives when good people choose silence. Emily lowered her head. Never again, she promised herself. Never again. Hours later, the checkpoint had been cleared. Evidence teams had departed. Federal investigators had taken custody of every recording. Tyler Grayson left in the back seat of an unmarked government vehicle, not in handcuffs, but stripped of every symbol of authority he had once relied upon. His future would now be decided in courtrooms instead of traffic stops. Weeks later, the Department of Justice publicly announced multiple federal civil rights charges, along with allegations of abuse of authority and interference with a protected federal mission. The town watched in disbelief. Many admitted they had ignored similar complaints for years. Others admitted they had remained silent because confronting Tyler had seemed impossible. His suspension became permanent. His law enforcement certification was revoked. The department introduced mandatory constitutional policing and anti-bias training, naming Officer Emily Carter to help develop the new program alongside state instructors. Months later, General Cole invited Naomi Brooks to a ceremony at Fort Liberty. There were no television cameras, no political speeches, only soldiers gathered beneath a clear Carolina sky. The general presented Naomi with the Department of the Army's Meritorious Service Medal. This award recognizes exceptional professionalism under extraordinary pressure. Naomi accepted the medal with the same humility she had shown throughout the ordeal. "I simply honored the oath I made." General Cole smiled, "And that's precisely why you deserve it." After the ceremony, the two stood quietly overlooking the parade field. The general asked one final question. "When Officer Grayson insulted you, why didn't you tell him who you were?" Naomi watched young soldiers marching in perfect formation before answering. "My father taught me something when I was a little girl." She smiled softly. He said, "If someone only respects you after learning your title, they never respected you at all." General Cole nodded. "A wise man." He was. Naomi looked toward the American flag moving gently in the afternoon breeze. Real dignity doesn't come from stars on a shoulder, medals on a uniform, or titles on a business card. She paused. It comes from treating every person with respect before you know who they are. The general extended his hand. "It has been an honor serving beside you, Captain." "The honor is mine, sir." As Naomi walked across the quiet parade ground, she wore no anger, no desire for revenge, only the quiet confidence of someone who had proven that character never needs to announce itself. Eventually, the truth always speaks louder, and justice, though sometimes delayed, always remembers where to find those who refuse to surrender their dignity. True strength is revealed when we choose dignity over anger and integrity over pride. Never judge someone by appearance, race, or circumstance, because every person carries a story you cannot see. If this journey moved you, share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us where you're watching from, and subscribe for more stories that remind us why justice, compassion, and character will always matter.